was in high school. Well, actually, all through my growing up, usually ended up doing grocery shopping with my dad. The reason is my mom wasn't feeling well and oftentimes couldn't get to the store, so he and I would go to the store. If it was a commissary, those were the large things. You got paid once a month in the military, so we would do that. But there were times, though, there was a grocery store just right 2 blocks away from us, so we'd go down there and pick up whatever. But I remember the bad advice that my dad gave. Actually, it was an outright lie. I shouldn't say it was bad advice. It was pretty much an outright lie. He would say, "I'll only be in the store for a minute." Well, that was true, because now he would go into the store, and I'd go in with him, and he stayed true to the list, maybe get 1 item or 2, maybe milk or bread or whatever we might need. Of course, my dad was astute enough to pick up a few things that my mom seemed to always leave off of the list, like Oreo cookies, you know, and some donuts and various things like that. I admit that I do the same things. Joni tends to leave Oreos off, although she did put them on last night. I was quite pleased after 40-odd years of marriage. But so we'd go into the store and we'd get our items, but we'd walk into the store and there was a fellow that my dad knew. Now maybe he knew him from work or maybe he knew him from the service, and so he'd be talking to this guy for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it was. Okay, so he'd be talking quite a bit. We'd get away from him and we'd be down the aisle and he'd bump into somebody else that he knew. Okay, Fairfield at that time was a city of 30,000, so it's not like, you know, we're shopping in Molalla or something. I mean, you know, he just knew a lot of people. And then we would get to the checkout line and I thought, okay, great, salvation is here, I'm ready to go, we're gonna blow this thing. Nope. We'd get to the checkout line, and of course he would strike up a conversation with the person ahead of him in the checkout line. If there was a baby in the cart, oh, I knew we were gonna be there for at least 30 minutes, because he would make friends with the baby, however old it was, and it was his personal mission to take a crying child and to get them feeling better. Actually, he did it. He really had a way with little kids. He could get them smiling and laughing. Then, of course, he had to form a long-lasting relationship with the cashier, and we won't even discuss what happened when we got out into the parking lot and bumped into the next 600 people that he knew. Do you know it takes about 5 hours to get a loaf of bread? Never mind, okay. So, my dad was just, yeah, you got the idea. Now, when we did go to the grocery store, you know, I'm one of these weird guys. I do kind of like grocery shopping only because sometimes you find some rather unique things at the store. I saw this. This is a back-to-school special. These are knives. Now, they once went to my high school because all the guys carried knives, and so this must have been for my high school. It doesn't strike me as a back-to-school item, but I always thought scissors were well enough. But no, I guess you need carving knives for some odd reason. I like this store. It's open 9 days a week. I just love to know where the other 2 days are, but you know, it's open 9 days a week. I think that's a great thing. This one you may not be able to see as well, but we have this nice lady here, and she has a kangaroo on a leash. What I thought was especially interesting is that the kangaroo's legs are handcuffed together or in shackles. I don't know if they broke him out of prison, you know, and then they decided to take him shopping before taking him home. I don't know. I really, you know, just one of those pictures. This was my favorite one. $1.48, they're on sale, great food, low prices, black grapeless grapes. I would love to try a grapeless grape, but I don't want to spend $1.48 for grapeless grapes. How about you? No, kind of thinking it's like air, like free. Okay, that's just fine. But you know, Jesus was talking to his disciples and talking about, well, we'll just get into it. Matthew chapter 6, verse 19 says, "Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourself treasures in heaven, where moth and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The eye of the lamp, the eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. Obviously in a physical sense, but you're also getting the idea in a spiritual sense. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is the darkness? No one can serve two masters. Either you'll hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Will you pray with me? Father, we thank you. Thank you for your word, for its beauty, for its simplicity, but yet for its vital message, which was true not only years ago, but true here today and right now in our lives. Speak to us this morning through your servant, your Holy Spirit, working through your word, that the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart would be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. So I want us to imagine this morning that we're in an allegorical grocery store, okay? And, as we get into that grocery store, we are trying to get our list squared away. There's a number of things in your outline. You can kind of follow along a little bit with this, but I think it's always helpful for us, number one, to find the right aisle when you're shopping, right? Got to find the correct aisle. When the pandemic first started, I thought it's annoying, but if you think about it, some things that are really annoying can also be really amusing. So I remember going into a grocery store, Safeway, actually, when the pandemic kind of first got going. And I remember that somebody there, maybe it was in corporate, maybe it was a great idea, hopefully the guy got a raise for suggesting this, but they put aisle. Do you remember the arrows in the aisles? Okay, there were arrows. And it was for social distancing. And so you would go this way, it's kind of like a one-way street. Go this way, and other people would come that way, but when you're going that way, then you have to remember to see what else you can get on that aisle, which is just totally messing me up. Now, arrows work really well if you read them. I didn't. Why? Because I don't shop like this. I don't. And I am not the most observant thing on two legs, as my wife will unhappily testify. It has to be pretty much lying dead in front of me before I'll figure it out. And so if they put Oreo cookies down on the floor, or if they maybe put a cup of coffee down there, preferably both, I wouldn't even turn down a donut. If you put something like that on the bottom of the floor, I'd actually look at the floor, then I'd see the arrows. They're just blank arrows, I'm not looking down there. So consequently, I would be going up and down the wrong aisle, which I noticed because I'm coming this way, this person's looking at me, and they're looking at me weird. I'm used to people looking at me weird, but this was more genuine. And so I begin then to wonder, how many here thought that if we went down the wrong aisle, I always expected some ninja warriors would come down zip lines from the ceiling, drop right in front of me, snatch me up, and park me in the right aisle. So I shopped in fear for a number of months. Of course, that never happened. And of course, they probably didn't even really care that I was in the wrong aisle. It's easy to wander into the wrong aisle in a grocery store, but you know what? I found in my spiritual life it's just as easy, or unfortunately easier, to wander into the wrong aisle in my spiritual life. I'm looking for meaning and purpose. I'm looking for help and assistance, but I end up in the wrong places looking for it. I'm in the wrong aisle, and I'm not going to find candy bars in the coffee aisle, and I'm not going to find spare ribs in the produce aisle. We know this. But then why is it that when I am looking for something that will help and enrich my life, I'm looking in the wrong place rather than where God told me to look, the right aisle, which is his word. And that's why he's saying, store up in heaven treasures in heaven. We tend to store up things on earth that are our treasures on earth. They could be possessions, they could be power, they could be people, they could be all sorts of things. And a possession on earth is simply that which we think is going to solve our problem, but it really will not. We are storing up our treasures in heaven. Our study of the Word, our practicing what God tells us to do, what we maybe hear in a sermon on a Sunday morning, or we read in a devotional, or we read from God's Word, whatever it may be, that is the right aisle. That's the way that we need to be going. But sometimes we're looking for God in all the wrong places. Because, see, we'll take a possession, we'll take maybe a person, we'll take a job, we'll take a situation, and we think that that's our God. Christian church reformer Martin Luther said that whatever you focus your time and your money and your energy on could rightfully be called your God. And so we're seeking for these things to find satisfaction, and Jesus said, don't store up things on earth. Why? Because thieves are going to break in and steal, and moth, and what was the other one? Did you remember it? Vermin, okay? Rats, okay? Will break in and take over. It might be ants, could be anything. The stuff down here is temporary. In other words, it's going to be gone. It'll be gone. Everything we own in 50 years will be gone. Whether it wears out or our kids get it and sell it off to make money, who knows? Okay? Even Ecclesiastes say, we work hard all of our lives to give it to our children and are going to squander it away. Well, that's a cheery thought, isn't it? All right. But Ecclesiastes, they know what life is really without God. And so our priorities are the things of heaven, where moths do not destroy, vermin don't get near it, and thieves don't break in and steal it. The right aisle are those things that will bring us closer to Christ. So then Jesus said, therefore, because of all that, I tell you not to worry about your life. What you will eat or drink, or your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, body worth more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They don't sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they are? Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to his life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet, I tell you that not even Solomon in all of his splendor was dressed like any one of these. This is how God, if that's how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? So don't worry, saying, what are we going to eat? What are we going to drink? What shall we wear? For the pagans run after all of these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. I'm going to stop right here. You see, not only do we need to find the right self, but then when we find the right shelf, we have to understand that unlike our culture right now, the shelves are fully stocked. Have you noticed nowadays that the shelves in the stores are a little bit bare? You notice that? Okay. And, you know, I remember Christmas time last year, maybe the year before, I can't remember, but Christmas time seeing pictures, videos of barges that are miles from the shore, and they're just sitting there. I remember a cute little cartoon that showed these barges out there, and it showed people swimming out there, and the caption read, people going Christmas shopping. Okay? Because that's where your Christmas gifts were. They're made maybe in Japan, and they're stuck out into the ocean because you can't get out there. And once they actually get into the docks, then as they unload the cell phones and the iPhones and the toasters and whatever else we think we need, there is a shortage of truck drivers to get those things. I have yet to talk to a truck driver that say, well, my son-in-law is a truck driver, and he tells me that people keep poaching him. In other words, he gets job offers almost every day of people that want to hire him to go drive for their company, and they're waving some pretty serious money at him. Why? There's not people to get those trucks that are on the dock to get that material to a warehouse, then to maybe another place, and then finally to the store, and then finally to your house. There's shortages everywhere. This a few weeks ago actually now, but I ended up going to Kaiser. We have Kaiser Insurance. I went over to Kaiser. He needed blood work done. Got there about 4 o'clock, 3:30. There are 3 clinics where we are in the Sunnyside area. There's Sunnyside, there's Mount Scott, and then there's Mount Talbot. And we go to Mount Scott typically. Went in there to get my blood drawn. It was closed. Why was it closed? They didn't have enough workers. The nurse said, go over to Mount Talbot, right? To go over to Mount Talbot. Did you know that the entire Clackamas County needed to get their blood work done that day? They did, because I'm standing in line, and the line is going really slow. Where normally the lines go pretty well. Why was it going slow? Because a couple of techs hadn't shown up to work, and 2 had already quit. There was like 1 tech back there taking blood, and hopefully 1 in the back who could actually read the results. I was in there a lot longer than I ever had waited in my life. Why? There weren't enough workers. There's shortage of workers. There's shortage of food and everything. We have rising prices. Had a little heart problem last night. Went and got gas. 4.5. Whew. Hello. Okay. I remember in high school, back when gas was like 50 cents a gallon. Back in those days, in the olden days, the kids look at me weird. My grandkids just don't even pay attention to me anymore. But I had a buddy of mine that said, even in college, he said, if gas gets to be $1 a gallon, I won't drive. Might be riding a bike by now. I have no idea, but hey, guess what? Wouldn't you love to find $1 a gallon somewhere? Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe not, because we'd probably be waiting in line like we also did in the 70s. But see, since we have treasure in heaven, we don't have to worry. Because he says, for the pagans, run after these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them, right? God knows that you need food, clothing, gasoline, plug in whatever it is that you need. Of course, remember that God gives us what we need, not necessarily what we want. Oh, if you abide in me and my word abides in you, ask whatever you wish, it will be done for you. I don't know about you, but I like the last part of that verse, and I tend to skip the first part like we all do when we read the Bible. In other words, I like the part that says, ask God whatever you want and he'll give it to you. I forget the first part. What's the first part? First part is if I abide in him, if I'm living with Christ, that his priorities are mine, if his attitudes are my attitudes, if his words are my words. So that's why God isn't giving me the Maserati. You know, he just isn't. Why? Because God in his infinite wisdom knows I don't need it. I'm still learning that, but you know, he knows that I don't need it. He'll give me what I need, not necessarily what I want. So we see that we need to be in the right aisle. The shelves are stocked, but we get some really amazing news at checkout. And this is a key verse. That's why this chapter is so wonderful. It's got some fantastic verses. So we're not seeking after clothes or food or money or any of those things because God already knows that we need them. But seek first what? The kingdom of God and God's righteousness, that right living, that attitude, my attitudes and thoughts and everything need to be of him. And all these things shall be added unto you. Because if I'm following Christ, if I'm seeking first his kingdom, if his priorities are my priorities, if his thoughts are my thoughts, then I'm aligned with what does God need me to have? What does God want me to have? Everything I own belongs to God. Everything I own belongs to God. Well, no, wait a minute, Bob. Wait, no, I work for a living. Okay, well, yeah. So where'd your job come from? Who provides you the ability to work? Who provides the job that you work and you earn your money? It's not your money. Whose money is it? Great, 6 of you know that. Good. It's God's money. He owns our money. He owns the cattle of 1,000 hills. A little bit metaphorical there because I've always wondered what happened to the cows on hill 1001. God owns that too. He owns everything. He owns everything that we have. And since we talked about this this morning in Sunday school, we were talking about, there was a poem, Archie Word, thank you, I was trying to look and see. The poem, White. What's that? Willie White. Willie White, thank you, okay, got it. Had a poem in his Bible, famous older preacher, had this poem in his Bible. I'm not going to quote you the poem, can't quite get all of it, but it's called The Consecrated Car. All right, consecrated means set aside for God's purpose. And basically the gist of the poem is that this guy doesn't have much. He can't sing. He doesn't like speaking up in front of people. His health is maybe a little ill. He can't do some of the physical things he used to. But you know what he's got? He's got a car. And he's got a car that has he and his wife in it, but yet it's got room in it. And what does he do? He drives around and picks up kids for Sunday school. He drives around, he picks up older people for worship service. He goes around, picks up some shut-ins for maybe the special program that we're having here on a given evening. The guy has nothing except a car. Wow. But he uses the car for God's work. And what that means here is God has given you something that he means to be used for his purpose. Let me say that again. He has given each one of us unique talents, abilities, possessions to be used for his purpose. Maybe it's the ability to work. Maybe it's you're an accountant. You can figure out things. Maybe you're creative. You write or you sing or whatever. Maybe you're able to work. Kind of the strong back, weak mind type of a thing we joke about, but maybe that's where you are. Maybe you can use a telephone. I told this story before, I'll tell it again. When we first moved here, there was a lady over in the care center. Her name was Bessie Brandenburg. I just loved Bessie. Bessie was 150 years old. I don't know how old she was, but she was in her 90s, couldn't see, couldn't hardly do anything, get around with a wheelchair. Most people would kind of say, well, I've served the Lord. Time for me to relax. Somebody forgot to give that memo to Bessie Brandenburg. What did Bessie Brandenburg do? She got our newsletter every week that we sent, and we sent it weekly back then, and she would pray or have somebody read to her the prayer list, and she would pray for every single person on that prayer list, and she would write them notes and send them in the mail, which for some of the young people, that's when you put a piece of paper in an envelope with an address and a stamp on it and send it off, okay? Snail mail, perhaps you've heard of it. She did that at her time and expense. My parents called me one day and they said, we had put my parents on there for some reason. I think mom was sick or dad was, whatever. He calls me, he goes, who's Bessie Brandenburg? I had to think a minute. Oh, she sent you a card. Yeah, she sent me a really nice card. Who is she? I said, she's 99 years old and she's praying for you. How many here want to be like her when you grow up? Yeah. Instead of thinking about what I can't do, to focus on maybe what I can do. Because God has given you something uniquely that you can use to serve his kingdom. Seek first, this is Bessie, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. See, one of the best news about this whole grocery store analogy is when you get to the checkout line. What's going on? Guess who paid the bill? There was a thing that the Fish radio station had going on for a while. I think they still do. You can get on their website and you can download a letter that actually is a handwritten letter. You can print it out. It looks kind of cool, actually. And what you can do is when you go through McDonald's, you can hand this letter to the gal taking your money, and what she will do is she'll charge you for whatever it is you're buying, but she will also allow you to pay for the person behind you. Okay? That's pretty cool. I've done it a few times. What's really neat is that it's a great gift if you have a few extra bucks in your pocket. Great gift to bless the person behind you. And nobody knows it's you. And what a really cool way to give. And that's how God gives to us. It's called grace. I didn't deserve it. I didn't earn it. He just gave it to me. It was especially sacrificial. One day I did that. Had somebody, paid for the person behind me. I got a cup of coffee and an English muffin. She bought breakfast for 2/3 of Molalla. So the bill was a little on the high side. But guess what? I think I really blessed her. Or more accurately, God blessed her, just using the stupid preachers trying to get his egg McMuffin for the day. God can use us. Amen? Oh yeah. Amen. So, we're in the right aisle. The shelves are stocked. God has given us more than we need, and we're called to use it for his glory. And in doing so, we store up riches in heaven, and what a great thing that is. I'm going to conclude with a kind of an old story, but I like it. There was a woman of immense wealth, just rich. And she gets to heaven, she's met by Gabriel, and who proceeds to give her a tour of the celestial city. So, first of all, she sees this wonderful estate that belonged to her maid. She's going, whoa, okay. Then, another huge mansion where her chauffeur lived. And she's thinking, this is wonderful. If my maid gets this and my chauffeur gets this, guess what I'm gonna get? And so, all of a sudden, they take her around back of the maid's place, and there's just a little ramshackle shack with an outhouse in the back. And she says to Gabriel, wait a minute, I'm richer than both of these people. What am I getting this for? He said, I'm sorry, that's all we could build with the materials you sent up. Where are we storing our treasures, folks? I don't know about you, but I'm thinking storing them with God is really the place to do it, because he will blessed is the man who does not have what he wants, but who wants what he has. Make sense? I'll say it again. Blessed is the man or woman who doesn't have what they want, but they want what they have. Because what we have belongs to God and being used in his kingdom. We're going to sing a wonderful song, actually the last verse that we looked at here. And we're called to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, which means we live and think and act and say and think according to God's plan and will and his word, and everything else that we need is at it. Let's stand together, let's sing together this wonderful hymn of invitation. If you have a question about your relationship with God or a decision you want to share with us, you can come forward. If you need prayer, Elder is always happy to pray with you. Let's sing this wonderful hymn of faith. Seek ye first the kingdom